A man writes 6 letters on a piece of paper. He crosses them out immediately. 5 hours later, he is found dying in a crashed car, naked, 100 kilometers from where the evening began. The letters were YOG'TZE. No confirmed meaning has ever been established. This happened on the night of October 25th, 1984, in West Germany. The sequence of events is documented. The cause is not. What makes this case different is that every explanation offered over the next 40 years has had to pass through those 6 letters. And none of them have fully explained what happened next. The man's name was Günther Stoll. He was 34 years old. He worked as a food engineer until 1984, when he lost his job. He lived in Anzhausen, a town in Westphalia, with his wife. For some time before his death, Stoll spoke repeatedly to his wife about them. He said they wanted to harm him. He never identified who they were. His wife did not believe anyone was following him. The German word he used was denen. It translates as those, or those ones, a pronoun without an antecedent. His behavior showed signs of paranoia. How long this had been happening is unclear. The cause was not determined. On the evening of October 25th, 1984, Stoll was at home with his wife. The time was around 11 at night. Stoll stood up suddenly. He said, in German, "Jetzt geht mir ein Licht auf." The phrase means, "Now I've got it," or "Now I understand." It indicates a moment of realization. Stoll took a piece of paper and wrote 6 letters, Y-O-G-T-Z-E. Some accounts suggest the third character may have been the number 6, not the letter G. His wife later stated she saw the letters, but the original paper was not preserved. A copy was made from her memory. Stoll crossed out the letters. At the time, there was nothing about the conversation that suggested it would be the last one they would have. He left the house. Stoll drove his Volkswagen Golf to Wilnsdorf, a neighboring town. He went to a pub called Papillon, his regular place. He ordered a beer. Before it arrived, he fell from his chair to the floor. He struck his face hard enough to draw blood. Multiple witnesses were present. According to their statements to police, Stoll had not been drinking. He had not touched the beer he ordered. He appeared anxious, but showed no signs of intoxication. The witnesses said he lost consciousness. The cause was never determined. No contemporaneous medical diagnosis was recorded at the time. Stoll regained consciousness. He spoke briefly to people in the pub. One witness recalled him saying he had suddenly gone. He did not explain what he meant. People helped him back to his chair. No one called for medical help. Minutes later, he left. He got into his Volkswagen Golf and drove away. The time was around 11:30 at night. For the next 90 minutes, his location is unknown. At 1 in the morning on October 26th, he appeared in Heigerseelbach, roughly 10 kilometers from the pub. Heigerseelbach is where Stoll grew up. His parents still lived there. He went to the home of a woman he had known since childhood. He knocked on her door. She answered, but did not let him inside. She later told police she was uncomfortable with the late hour. They spoke on her patio. Stoll talked about an incident. The woman later told police he spoke of a horrible incident that was about to happen that night. She asked what he meant. He gave no details. She suggested he go to his parents' house nearby. He refused. He said they would not understand him. She then suggested he return to his wife in Anzhausen. He agreed. He left. The time was around 1:15 in the morning. For the next hour and 45 minutes, his location is unknown. At 3 in the morning, 2 truck drivers on the A45 Autobahn saw a vehicle in a ditch near the Hagen Süd exit, a light blue Volkswagen Golf. The Hagen-Süd exit is roughly 100 kilometers north of Anzhausen. It is not on a direct route from Heigerselbach to Anzhausen. Both truck drivers stopped. They approached the vehicle separately. Both later gave statements to police. Their accounts matched. As they approached, they saw a person in a white jacket near the car. The person appeared injured. The person walked away from the scene. The truck drivers called for help. When they returned to the vehicle, the person in the white jacket was gone. Inside the car, in the passenger seat, was Günther Stoll. Stoll was naked. He was bleeding. He was conscious. One driver stayed with him. The other went to find an emergency telephone. Police and medical services were contacted. When responders arrived, Stoll spoke to them. He said 4 men had been in the car with him. He said the men ran away. When asked if they were his friends, he said no. He was conscious enough to speak. His account did not match the scene. Stoll was transported to a hospital. He died during transport. The time was around 4 in the morning. His clothing was never found. His shoes were in the car. Police examined the crash site. The car had run off the road into a ditch and struck trees. The damage to the vehicle matched the impact at that location. A medical examiner evaluated Stoll's injuries. The examiner's report stated the injuries did not match the crash damage. The location of his body raised immediate questions. Stoll was found in the passenger seat, not the driver's seat. His shoes were in the car. His clothing was not. The report suggested Stoll had been injured before the accident occurred. The report suggested he had been struck by a vehicle at a different location. It noted he was naked at the time. After being struck, he was placed in the passenger seat of his own Volkswagen Golf. This created a sequence that required explanation. If Stoll had been struck elsewhere and placed in the passenger seat, someone else drove the car to the crash site. The vehicle showed no signs of being towed. It had reached the location under its own power. Stoll's injuries were severe enough that he could not have driven himself. The damage to the car occurred at the site where it was found, not at the location where Stoll was allegedly struck. Someone drove the car. Someone positioned it in the ditch. Someone left before the truck drivers arrived. That person was never identified. The case was classified as a homicide. The 4 men Stoll mentioned were never identified. The person in the white jacket was never identified. Other motorists reported seeing a hitchhiker near the Hagen-Süd exit that night. The hitchhiker was never located. Other drivers reported seeing a pickup truck at a ramp near Hagen-Süd, heading toward Frankfurt. The truck was never found. The case was featured on the German television program Aktenzeichen XY ungelöst on April 12, 1985. The program seeks public assistance in solving cases. After the broadcast, several amateur radio enthusiasts contacted the station. They noted that if the third character in YOG'TZE was the number 6, the result would be YO6TZE. This is the call sign of a Romanian radio station. No connection between Stoll and Romania was established. Other theories emerged. Some suggested YOGTZE was a license plate. Others proposed it related to Stoll's work. The letters TZE are used in the food industry to refer to a yogurt flavoring additive. No evidence supported any interpretation. Over the following decades, investigators pursued more than 1,200 leads. None produced a resolution. In April 2025, German authorities announced a renewed review of the evidence. New expert opinions were commissioned. The analysis concluded that Stoll's injuries were consistent with a single vehicle traffic accident, not with being struck by another vehicle. DNA analysis of the car's interior found no evidence of other occupants. No DNA other than Stoll's was detected. Based on these findings, the case was closed. Authorities stated that death resulted from a traffic accident with no outside interference. The meaning of YOG'TZE was not explained. The 1984 investigation suggested Stoll was injured before the crash. The 2025 review concluded his injuries came from the crash itself. Both worked from the same physical evidence. Stoll's statement about 4 men was recorded by emergency responders. DNA analysis found no trace of other occupants. The reason for his statement remains unexplained. The person in the white jacket, seen by both truck drivers, was never identified. Stoll collapsed in the pub before driving to the crash site. The cause was never determined. Medical records show no history of seizures or fainting. His warning about a horrible incident came hours before the crash. What he knew, or thought he knew, remains unclear. The 4 hours between leaving his house and being found in the crashed car are partially accounted for. Witnesses place him at the pub from 11 to 11:30. Witnesses place him in Heigersielbach from 1 to 1:15. What happened before 11 and between 1:15 and 3 is unknown. The route from Heigersielbach to the crash site near Hagen is not a direct path to his home in Anzhausen. Why he was travelling in that direction has not been established. The absence of his clothing has not been explained. How or why he removed his clothing is unclear. The crossed-out letters remain unexplained. If they were written, their meaning was never determined. The case file was opened on October 26, 1984. Decades later, authorities said the death could be explained as an accident. A man wrote letters with no confirmed meaning. He collapsed for no identified reason. He warned of an incident before it occurred. He died in circumstances that produced conflicting interpretations over 40 years. Between the time he left his house and the time he was found dying, he travelled roughly 100 kilometres. 4 hours passed. 2 locations are verified. 2 intervals are not. The note, if it existed, was destroyed. The 4 men, if they existed, were never found. The person in the white jacket was seen by 2 witnesses, never identified. The questions surrounding that night remain.